And even Michael is like, why don't they just go on the, and I'm
Yeah.
like, we've done this 8 million times. There's no child
Yeah.
that just goes and sits on the potty and goes to the bathroom. And like all of our in-laws make us think that they just like gave us M&Ms and we all peed on the potty. But it's like not how it worked.
Megan, not to move away from poop. Are you sick?
I have allergies.
Michael's
I
got them
know.
so bad.
Yeah.
I know. I just took my nose spray and my Zyrtec like an hour ago. But yeah. What about, do you guys have bad allergies?
You do,
I have
Caitlin, right?
Yeah, I have a horrible headache right now, which is why I look swollen.
I've
Is
been
it really
waking
bad?
up
Like
with
the past
that.
few days? The past few
Yeah.
days have been really bad, right?
Yeah. I don't know.
2 days ago wasn't. Yesterday, I have like this pollen website I go to. Today is high. Yesterday was extremely high, but I wasn't
Yeah.
as bothered yesterday. It's usually like the second day as it's built up because I was
Yeah.
outside all day.
So the rain for the next 10 days will be a nice relief for you guys.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's an
yes.
app too. Do you get the app, Caitlin, where you can like see, like I only check it because of Nico has bad allergies, and it shows like how much birch he's allergic to, maple, and it's like, yeah, it's this app you go on and it tells you.
When you said birch, I thought you were going to say bird shit. I don't know why.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, how much bird shit's out there?
Yeah.
My kid's latest obsession is the UV count.
Index.
That's a thing with this age group. And so it was not even on my radar. So clearly all of this is, what is it when it's when you can catch it? Like poison. What is it when you can catch something?
Contagious?
That's the word. It's like contagious. So one of them talks about it and then all of the others get it.
Yeah.
And so it's clearly in her text chain because she'll be like, UV is going to be 7. And I'm like, that means like more chances of getting sunburned and cancer and sick. And
But
wear sunblock. Welcome to Just for Moms. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Caitlin.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Callie.
We are regular moms
Talking about regular stuff like
aging, parenthood,
work-life balance,
and figuring out what's for dinner again.
A no judgment zone to talk, laugh,
and maybe cry
about all the things women think about on a daily basis.
This is a nice segue into what I was going to start the episode with. So, hi everyone, welcome back. This is Just for Moms. We're getting worse and worse at starting. We hit record at some point when we're all logged in, and then we keep talking, and then we forget that we haven't officially started the episode. So this is my episode this week. So hi everyone, welcome to Just for Moms at Charlotte, Callie, Megan, and Caitlin. We are not talking about the summer per se today, but it is summer, and it got me thinking, because I think this will air like right around when our kids are officially out for summer. And it got me thinking, like, when you think back to your childhood summers, is there one kind of core memory that you go to every time? Or is it a little bit of everything? I feel like I sort of have an amalgamation of everything, but I definitely have one like feeling that I come to. And I was wondering if you guys have that same thing. So I'm looking at a lot of perplexed faces. Megan, you're nodding. You're down to clown. You must have a memory.
So I feel like I might have shared it before, but every summer, our cousins and family and aunts and uncles participated in it. It was called Camp Reese, okay? And all the family would come, bring their tents, and we would all set up in our one aunt and uncle's yard. Even my dad and mom slept in the tent, and it was a full week around 4th of July, and we did s'mores every night. I remember the dads would drive us around in the tractor. We did circles around the yard. We would swim in the pool. We would, make up songs and play games, and it was like real childhood that I feel like, I hope my kids have this too. No phones, no electronics, no TV, just real life. And I remember it. And I remember my parents sleeping in the tent with us, my cousin in the tent next to us. I mean, there had to be 7 or 8 tents. And then as it evolved, our aunts and uncles started to rent campers and Winnebagos, and it just blew up. And then like friends would come. And yeah, it was just like a big party. It was called Camp Reese. And it was just, I remember it forever because it was real childhood.
I mean, that's the greatest hack too, because you remember it as a kid. As a parent, you know that they were having like Bloody Marys with lunch, and kids were not in touch with anyone. They were having the time of their lives also.
Oh yeah, the parents were, flipping them back, and we were all just living our life too, and everyone loved it. And grilling and hot dogs and hamburgers, and yeah, and everyone would bring stuff and make stuff, and yeah, it was a blast.
We overthink things. I think that's the
Mhm.
takeaway. We
Yeah,
Yes.
overthink things.
for sure.
Caitlin or Callie, do you have any core memories from your childhood summers?
I feel like mine's like a mashup of different little. There would be a couple summers in a row where we would do the same thing. For a while we were going camping in Maine, and then we were renting a house in Rhode Island. And so I just have all visions of that. And my cousins and I reminisce about certain funny things that would happen at each of these things. And I just think of like staying on the beach really late. My uncle always building these weird things in the sand. Like one year he made a plane, like an airplane that you could get inside, and then we put a blanket over the top, which is now kind of dangerous, I guess. But yeah, we'd fly the plane. And I remember racing lobsters before we ate them. And just, yeah. One time I called the police when we were playing cops and robbers. I got in trouble for that. And that's just what I think of, is all these like little snippets of Maine and Rhode Island.
That's so fun, Callie.
Yeah, I don't have I can't think of like one memory. I feel like most of my summers that I remember as childhood were sort of like bookend between we would spend 2 weeks every summer on an island off the coast of Maine. And so like that was always a part of my summer. And then I did summer camp, specifically overnight camp once I got old enough. My mom worked for the YMCA, and so it was like I feel like the only way that we could afford sleepaway camp because it's so expensive. But I would go like two. I feel like one time I convinced her to do 3 weeks, and those were like the two core pieces that I got to do like every summer that I feel like bookended my summer really.
Yeah, I
What's
had
yours? I feel like you said you had this like one. No, I want to know
Well,
what
it's
it
not
is.
one, but it is sort of one thing that I think of, and it's not like we always went to New Hampshire in the summers and to visit my grandparents. So there were some consistent things every summer that were really fun. But the one memory I have that it's almost like a dream when I try to recall it, like it's very murky. But there was one year I went to, I want to say it was a farm camp. And so we would just bop around between activities. And these activities were so interesting to me. I mean, I feel like we did like archery and pottery. And I think there was this art studio that just had like everything you could dream of. And in my mind, this is the first time that I really learned how to make like those, friendship bracelets where you would weave it, or like the ones with lanyards. And I just remember having free reign over all these materials. And I had one friend who was only my friend that summer, but for whatever reason, I think maybe we were at the same camp. We learned how to make pom poms. And so the joy that I would find going home and with yarn, my mother was like, go ham, do whatever. We would make like pom pom families, and we would make pom pom villages and little paper houses for our pom pom families. And then I remember making these bracelets just by the dozen. And I think you could tape them on. It would have been a book for us. I see kids do it with water bottles now, but we didn't hydrate, so we didn't have them back then. But I remember sitting by the pool and just weaving bracelets. And if you felt really varsity, you would go with bigger patterns and wider, and just getting sort of lost in the moment of it all and feeling the sort of the wizardry of like, whoa, I can do this with my hands and this like 99-cent ball of yarn. So it's like that feeling that I come back to. So it wasn't anything amazing, but like I haven't made a pom pom family since then. I'm telling you, back then it hit. So that's mine.
Did you make those little people too out of like the toothpicks, and you would wrap the same type of yarn around? Did you make those, Charlotte? Like
Probably we would do
with the
them with,
hands and the
yes.
two, and then the face, and then you would put the
Yeah.
beads on them. I feel
Yeah.
like I did those in the summer with the bracelets too, right?
Or the clothespins, the old school clothespins that don't move, and you
Yeah.
could wrap and yeah,
Yes.
I'm
Or the
telling you.
bead animals. Remember bead animals?
Those were the days. My aunt used to run a camp, and we're really digressing, but I love this idea because it's just old school. But she ran a camp, and these camps will pop up around the country. So I don't know, what is it called when you get like a franchise kind of? But the premise of the camp is that a group of kids come together and they create a village together. And so each child needs to have like a part of that village. Maybe you're the school, maybe you're the shop, maybe you're whatever, and they have to individually make their little house, and they have access to basic materials. I mean, maybe they're going in the woods and getting twigs, maybe they have glue, And so, during the day, they're just sort of puttering on their houses. But a big part of it would also be those people. And it would be with those clothespins. And they would get fabric and make like full costumes and hair to look like each other. And then they'd find a spot on the property to set up their village. I mean, it was just sort of magic to think of how they facilitated, and they had to discuss, like, what do we think we need? What should we call the village? So they had to work together. But then they also were working individually. And my younger siblings helped do that a couple summers. She didn't run it when I was that age, but like, how fun does that sound?
Wait, so it doesn't exist anymore? Because
But my aunt doesn't do it anymore. They're probably, I want to say it started in England. I mean, it makes sense. It's very like crafty and sort of old school. But yeah, there were some schools use it as part of their curriculum because you can imagine it ties into a lot of, community standards and urban planning. And so I think if you were to look up the game of village, I think you'd find it somewhere. We could maybe try to link to it.
Yeah.
Do we do that on our social media, Megan?
Yeah, we can. I can do that, of course.
I'm
We can link
texting
to it.
myself this so
Let's
I
do
don't
it.
forget.
Yeah.
We know how to link, Charlotte.
Yeah. Great. But do we? I feel like we're always like, we'll link to
No.
it. We'll talk. We don't.
Yeah. Survival mode right now this time of year, right?
Oh, none of us are remembering. Forget it. Okay, let's move on from summer dreaming to mom fails. Does anyone have one they want to start with? I'm going to pull up my notes because I forgot what my fail is. But does anyone?
I can. Mine's not like dramatic, but I keep having to reschedule a kid's dentist appointments because something will come up, and now I'm about to have to reschedule it for the third time, I think, because I didn't know it was somebody's school concert or something stupid that's happening next week. And every time I call, they're like, well, we don't have another appointment for 6 weeks or 8 weeks or 6 months. And I'm like, my kids just need their teeth cleaned, please.
Exactly.
And then when you go, they're going to be like, they have cavities. And you're going to be like, well,
It's your fault.
yeah. My mom fail is, I don't know if it's really a fail, but I had a funny babysitting fiasco yesterday. We had our summer babysitter here for the night, and it was just like one of those nights that like everything was going wrong. And this poor girl, I mean, we had her last summer, but she was probably just like, it was probably the best, like, oh my God, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like that makes you not have babies. What's the word for something that makes you not
Birth
have babies?
control?
Thank you. It was probably like the best birth control ever.
You would not imagine what I was
I
just
was
going
like
to say.
sterile, barren. What are we talking?
Sorry. So Olive threw up on the floor.
Oh,
And
gosh, that
then
damn dog.
we're potty training Tate. So then he like peed on himself. And then we went outside, and Miles kept telling us there was a dead mouse. And I was like, no, there's not. And I was like, you know what? There probably is, because that's just like the day is going with like bodily fluids and dead animals. So there's a dead mouse out on the patio. And it was just like this poor girl was there for like literally 3 hours. And I think everything that could have happened. So.
But it
hopefully
wasn't
she
her
comes
first
back.
time with you, right?
No.
Thankfully.
But she's supposed to be with us the whole summer, and I hope that she stays.
I'm sure she'll be back, Kallie. You seem very chill to work for. So
Let's hope. Megan, do you have one?
yes. So I was in charge of paper goods for a class party for one of my kids. And I didn't realize parents weren't allowed. So I like showed up with the school with the paper goods, and I walk in with them, and the teacher's kind of like, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, I was just supposed to send them in with the student. I didn't read like the small fine print. You sign up on the Sign Up Genius. And I was like, okay, here's nice to see you. I'll leave now. So she's probably thinks, again, I said mom brain, and she's pregnant. So I'm like, just be prepared. I know you have pregnancy brain, and mom brain will come next. So yeah, that was my fail. I was just like the only one that did it, but whatever.
But like super smart to sign up for paper goods. That's a win.
Yeah, the dollar store, man.
Was that with you guys that we were talking about how that's like key to these signups is to get on first so that all you have to do is send in paper goods?
Get the easy ones.
Yeah.
Well played.
I don't want to be making the Pinterest snacks.
Yeah. One time
No.
Michael signed us up. I don't know why. He's never been the one who does that, but he clicked it first, and then he signed up, and he signed me up for some sort of creative, a festive snack.
Craft. Oh,
And I was like, what does that even, first of all, what does that even mean? And two, you're never allowed to click those ever again.
Right. Dude,
Yeah.
it's like, how do you recognize the desire to help, but also be like, you're no good at this.
No, don't do that one again.
Just don't. Step
I got
away.
it. Unless you want to make the creative snack.
So my mom fail, I've remedied it. So I know it's like maybe not actually a fail. Do you guys, this was not a thing when I grew up, but these lawn signs when your kids graduate, that's a thing. I assume it's a
Oh.
fundraiser or the reason to do it. But I have 2 kids graduating from one from elementary, one from middle. And so the elementary, there was, we have a group chat for the girls in the grade, and someone handled it and said, you can get your lawn signs. And so I got my lawn signs. The 8th grader, he like secretly wants one, but is certainly not going to come home and be like, Mom, get me a lawn sign. I just hadn't done it. And we have I mean, when you guys are listening to it, school is over. When we're recording, there's 2 weeks. I mean, we're close. So he does have one, but some of these lawn signs have been up for weeks around us. So that's my.
I didn't know that they did lawns. I thought lawn sign was only when you graduated high school.
No.
Not our town is only high school. I don't.
It is, okay.
I haven't seen any like congratulations 5th graders. Although maybe they did. Maybe they did
I've
them
never
in the
seen that.
past, but I don't know.
We have them for elementary, Charlotte, and then middle, and then high school. And then there's some parents, which I understand, don't want them on their lawn because did you hear about the whole? Then people know that you have a child that lives in your house. So there's that whole ball game of that.
Don't you have somebody has a kid at their house if there's like I have a water table in my front yard.
I know.
I don't think
never go outside. I mean,
I don't think it takes a
Whatever.
real Sherlock Holmes to crack the code of.
I agree. Yeah. And I'm like, you can have them.
Yeah. I don't know about, I mean, the football team got their faces on signs, and it was cute because they were meant to show up at the last game of the season, and those faces ended up outside the front of our house. We did it mostly because the older one was horrified, so that was just worth it for the week it was up. That I can understand someone might have some hesitation about, but again, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you guys have the flamingo thing, that fundraiser?
No, but
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that going around our town now for the seniors, but there's none in my neighborhood, and we have 2 seniors. Nobody was flamingoed or
should start it up.
I don't need to raise money for them, not yet.
Well, this is a moderate segue to our topic today, which has popped up, I feel like, here and there on social media. People have asked for us to just talk about our hot take, our philosophy on parties, birthday parties, celebrations. Like, what do we think about? How do we handle it? And I don't know. I fear that all 4 of us are going to have the same approach. So maybe it's not a helpful discussion, but we're still going to talk about it. I tried to find some stats because in my mind, I feel like the level of celebration and the feel of the holiday recognition is just much more than it was when I was younger. I did find a few stats to back it up. So here's a couple. So one industry report indicates that U.S. parents spend an average of $400 to $500 per child's birthday party. Notably, 25% of parents spend over $500, and about 47% spend between $100 and $500. So that's like, that adds up. That's not nothing. Platforms like Pinterest and Instagram, they can get the best of us. They certainly give you ideas about things that would not, like, listen, there were not balloon arches when I was younger. I'm just going to put that out there. So in summary, and I'm sure that don't ask me these sources, but in summary, the average expenditure on children's birthday parties in 2025, it's risen significantly, influenced by social trends, professional services, and cultural expectations. While some parents opt for lavish celebrations, others seek budget-friendly alternatives, highlighting the diverse approaches to commemorating these special occasions. So I'm an other in this situation. But I do just think there's more, like, I don't remember, like, we've talked about it, leprechaun traps, that was not a thing. Valentine's Day, there was no expectation of anything from my parents. You would make something and bring it into school. I guess we did Easter baskets, but it was like a bathing suit or something. And everything else, I mean, we did Halloween, but I don't remember like big Halloween parties. So it was definitely, when I was growing up, it was birthday, we celebrated Christmas and like maybe school parties, but not anything at home. Is that sort of what you guys remember?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't think of anything that would have been, I mean, if you had something, graduation, graduation from high school though. There was no 8th grade, 5th grade when I was in elementary school. That started when I graduated and left. Um, Communion, like a religious thing, there might be a party, but that was it. There was nothing.
And those parties, for me, it was always just my mother like making a salmon or
Yeah.
like there wasn't, I don't remember ever having a third party come in with flowers or music or tents or
No,
right.
never.
No,
Right.
never.
Never.
So I mean, I think it sounds like we all remember simpler times, so that may be indicative of just how we grew up, but my theory is that things are just more complicated nowadays. What are each of your sort of personal philosophies on parties, celebrations? Like how do you do it in your family with your kids? I don't know, who wants to go first? You want to go first, Callie?
For birthdays in our family, we have a family rule that you get what we call a friend's birthday when you turn 5, 10, and 15. So those are the birthdays where you get to invite people over. So I've only had to do one of these so far, which is great. And we just did it in our backyard and like had a bounce house guy and like rented a bounce house. I kind of fell into this by accident because I never did like a big birthday when my first turned 1 and then I think he turned 2 during COVID. And then once he got into the age where he realized that some other kids were getting birthdays and like having these birthdays every year, I was like, I need to figure out a solution. So I told him, I'm like, well, when you turn 5, you can have one. And then I was like, and then when you're 10, and then when you're 15. And it just worked out really well for us because it like let go of all of the expectation that they were going to have them. Like my daughter just turned 4. So she's been in preschool long enough that she's watched her friends have birthdays. And it didn't really even have to come up because I was like, when you turn 5 in our family, that's when you'll have one. So that's worked out really well for us because I think that when we do finally like throw a little party, it feels like I don't stress about it. Like I'm actually looking forward to it because it's fun to plan a party. I mean, I think we can all agree that like planning a party is super fun. But I don't feel like I have to do one every year all of the time. And so the other birthdays are just family birthdays and we still do something fun, but I feel like I lean on those simpler time birthdays that we remember from our childhood for those. So like I remember my mom would always cook us whatever we wanted for our birthday. Like whatever you wanted for dinner, you got to do it. And so that's what we do. And they get to pick whatever they want for dinner. And like we'll make a big deal of like have a cake and we'll sing. And now that my kids are getting a little older, like we kind of like will dote all over the birthday kid, but it's not really about the party, really.
Follow-up question, because I have always told myself, because we have a similar approach, but I've always told myself it's a financial thing because I don't know, like I don't know that I would mind throwing a party every year if someone were like, it's free to throw parties, go do it. But I'm also really happy not to have to throw a party every year. So I've never had to sort of tease apart those two. Is your choice, do you think, motivated mostly by finances, or is it some greater principled thing about just
I
setting a
just don't want to
precedent?
do it.
Okay.
I just don't want to do. I don't mean with 4 kids, I don't want to throw a part. I don't. That wouldn't be enjoyable to me. Kids parties can be fun sometimes, but like they're not. They're not that fun. And I also like. I want our again. I think I look back a lot at my childhood and how I remember my birthdays and like I want my kids to be able to experience that kind of birthday too, I think. So, I mean, yeah, finances is definitely a very helpful. Like I don't want to spend a ton of money on a birthday every year, but I don't think that's like my biggest motivator. My biggest motivator is that I don't want birthdays to have to feel like this big special extravagant thing all of the time. And I want it to be more about family, like about us being able to celebrate together as a family.
Yeah. Megan, how do you guys handle it? You've just had 2 back to back.
Uh,
No?
communion and then a birthday.
Oh.
Yeah. So growing up, I do remember just the basic birthdays, which I loved, and I have many core memories of that in the yard playing, and you would have a cake and your cousins would come over and pizza, and like that would be it, and everyone would be as happy as could be, right? Or I feel like then it started bowling. Like we all went to bowling alley, right? and maybe a little roller skating. I remember a roller skating rink. So like
We did
that's
ice
like as
skating.
extreme as it went back then. Now, fast forward to today, I have 3 kids. I will admit, I did get sucked in, and it's probably because of social media with my first child, going a little extreme with the cake smash with the first child, having a photographer come. My mom and dad offered to host it at their house because at the time we were, living in a townhouse downtown, so we didn't have any space really to host. And yeah, I went on Pinterest, pinned a bunch of things, did the whole balloon arch, and went all out with my first child. Then, you have your second. I felt like I kind of had to live up to that, just that first birthday, and so I did it again with the second. But by the time Nico came, it was like, I don't know. I just didn't have as much energy to do it. It was also a finance issue of, how much you spend. But now today that I have 2 teenagers, I push like the experiences as a birthday rather than a party. And again, I'm like Callie, I don't like to host anymore. I did when I was young, when my kids were younger, but now I don't have the energy for it. And I'm just like, it's the cleanup after, during, and I'm like helicopter mom during them. So I don't do them anymore. So I'd rather have my kids have an experience, or like, oh, maybe like if they want to take 2 friends out to hibachi or something like that, like a restaurant. So yeah, I'm not really into the parties anymore. And if we do have them, like Nico had a ninja one, it's at the ninja place and the mess is left there. So that's my 2 cents on the whole thing.
How about you, Kaylin?
Well, so our problem in my mind, I'll tell you what like I like. I like a low-key family party that usually is for the adults. The adults come, the kids play in the playroom. The food that's there is geared towards all of my family because it's usually my family. At one point, like it would be some friends and stuff. But that's just in my mind what I like. But when I first had my oldest, we lived in the South and my family was all in the North. She's the first niece. She's the first grandchild or granddaughter. I already had 2 nephews on my side of the family. And just so my in-laws threw this big party, and my mother-in-law is so creative and so crafty and just did this wonderful thing. And we had a friend who was a photographer, so she took photos and it became a big deal. Then Annabelle's second birthday, I'm like, man, I did this big thing. Well, because I was I was blogging, a lot of places sent me stuff. It didn't cost me a lot because all of the grandparents were like, we'll pay for the food. And then all the decor and everything was free, as long as I wrote a blog post. Same thing happened third birthday party. I have a friend who's a ballerina. She's like, I'll come and dance for all the kids. So it looks like I hire this prima ballerina, but she's really just my friend that I work with. And so then we moved to Connecticut and Eileen's turning 1 year old. And my family, like we were in no financial position to be doing and spending anything because we had just moved up here. And my sister and her mother-in-law are super crafty. And so they did everything. And my friend's a photographer, so she took photos. So if you go on my blog, it looks like I am a Pinterest mom, but I am not. I have Pinterest friends who like to give me things and help and donate. And that's just all of the birthday parties on my blog are like that. I hate spending so much money on a birthday party because in my mind, then you're supposed to buy your child a gift. So a lot of times my kids know that their party is their gift. If I end up like Eiley is an August birthday, she gets a better party than her December sisters every year. She gets a bounce house. She had a princess come, but she knew I don't even think she maybe really knew until last year that your party is your gift. So then we don't buy presents. And she has she has a champagne taste. What is it? And a beer budget. Like,
yeah.
Yeah, caviar taste. Yeah. She wants like everything all fancy for everything that we do. And it's usually a conflict. Like I have to tell Brandon like, oh, here we go again, the August queen. And she celebrates her birthday all summer because she's got 2 sets of grandparents. One lives in Tennessee and one in Georgia. she's having her first party in a couple weeks in June, mind you. Her birthday's not till August. So, long story short, what I like is a low key sleepover, put on some movies. We did this for my 10-year-old. They made some slime with some glue in my dining room. They made some tacos, and then, it was really cute and low key. But every year somehow I get roped into something that's not my cup of tea.
That's so funny. Yeah, I feel like we have sort of run the gamut. And what I was thinking about in putting together notes for this is that there really is a pretty small window of time when like the birthday party is a thing. We're just about out of it. It was never a given. We've had different stages of life. There's no question when I had fewer kids, it was easier and more fun to throw bigger parties, and they were never extravagant, but we definitely did the first birthday party in Central Park, but that was because our friends, it was, Eleanor didn't care. It was it was so
Yeah.
we could hang out with our friends. And then when we moved to Connecticut, we had a little more space to entertain, which was nice for me, but it was still very like I feel like we did a party one year and the theme was yellow because it was her favorite color. And so that's just a trip to Party City, and there wasn't anything. Maybe we ordered pizza. My sense is it's the norm to do parties at secondary venues, like you said, Megan. And there's an advantage to that. Obviously, they deal with it all, but those things start at like $400 or $500. And so for us, I think we did like a party at Ole Soccer one year for one of my boys because they were into soccer, and it was not maybe quite that expensive, but it adds up. So we've done a little bit of it. I have found. And it's funny, I was just talking to someone about our feminist episode because with my kids, it's so gendered the way we've approached parties. The girls we've had a number of craft parties for the girls because they can sit with their friends and do these craft projects, and it's very easy to set them up. And I think because I have that teaching in my back pocket, it was, I feel like we've done a fairy party where they planted little fairy gardens. And then there was one year when someone was into Harry Potter. So you could go on Pinterest and pull a few pretty quick and simple activities. The boys, I would always offer it, but it was not nearly as compelling. And I don't know that 10 boys would sit around a table for an hour and a half and like cycle through crafts. It's different. For the boys, I guess our homemade version has been one year, I think the COVID year, we had like just a flag football game. And I think we had an ice cream truck show up at the end of it. But, we had to spray paint the lines on the yard, which was fun. And that was easy. But we definitely needed like my husband to get involved and be a referee. Like, I'm not doing that. One year, our local PE teacher will show up and play games with the kids. So again, like it's a pretty simple party, but I don't want to be the ringleader in the middle, like organizing games with a bunch of 9-year-olds. My favorite parties are definitely just the low key ones. And we're sort of getting into that phase with my kids as they get older. Hibachi is a big, that hits. You can get what is a table? 7 kids, 8 kids. So that's, it's not cheap, I guess, if we're talking the finances of a hibachi table, forget it. And then like one year we took Louisa and a bunch of friends to see the Taylor Swift movie. So it sort of depends, but I think we are at the age with a lot of them when they're happy just to do a fun experience with a few of them. And that, that's, so what are we had 5 years when they remembered their parties and had enough friends. So I do try to take it all with a grain of salt, but my kids, we've just set the expectation that they're not getting balloon arches and all that, but
I have a really important question. What do you guys do about siblings? And well, Callie, you're not right there yet, but like it's one of your children's birthdays. What are the siblings doing? Because
are they invited to the party? I get it.
Yes. Yeah.
We have sort of said whatever they want. Like my motherly heart would love to have them all be like, yay, let's come along. The reality is that a few less bodies is usually helpful for everyone. And like my oldest son, he didn't even want me to be at the hibachi because, he definitely, I was fine. He didn't want the siblings. And so I made him feel guilty and we went to a secondary hibachi place, which was like win-win for everyone. So I guess we leave it up to them. I mean, I encourage them to be included, but I get it.
Yeah, we're in a tricky spot because My oldest, the last birthday party that she had, like I said, they made slime. Oh, they made like a salt scrub thing. And she specifically didn't want her sister there. And mainly because she's like, I think she wanted 9 girls. And my house is not that big. So, and it's winter. So we're not outside. We're in my dining room that doesn't even seat 9 people and have to finagle it. So she's like, Eiley can't come. And I'm like, that's not going to work. And she said, well, Sloan, who's her cousin, and they're all this little group, but Sloan's Eiley's age. She's like, well, Sloan and Eiley can go do something. And so then my mom had to take them and go do something there. And then Annabelle could have her time. So now Eiley's birthday is coming up this August. And she's like, I don't want Annabelle there. I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. So every year you're going to go back and forth. But that was the one question I had. And then the second is, are you an invite the whole class parent, or are you you can pick a couple of friends parent?
I think it depends on the party. If it's a small party, then it's pick your friends. And one of my kids is in a tough situation because there aren't a lot of girls in the class. And so to invite your friends, you're very easily at like half or more. But because there's so few girls, I think they're just kind of used to the shifting dynamics. So there was a time when it was all the girls or all the boys, and none of my kids had like a friend that like my girls didn't have a boy that they wanted to, or else they could have. I mean, it wasn't like you can't invite boys. It just was an easier. And or it's a smaller number. We've never had the whole class, boys and girls. That feels crazy.
I'm not that either. Megan, what about you?
So with the sister, because I have 2 girls in my house too, I do make Ava include Gianna. We just went through this and I was like, she's your sister, your friends all love her. They're 2 years apart. And I don't know if that's right or wrong or good or bad, but I just make her include Gianna. And something I wanted to just reiterate that we talked about, we just had this conversation in our house, and with a birthday and the experience, that is technically a gift to me now. Like when you turn 15 and 16 and your mom puts effort into getting all the friends, taking them to the grandparents' beach house and driving them back and forth, like that's part of the gift. So we just had this conversation. It was like, well, what else am I getting? And I'm like, all right, well, what else do we need? Like, so it's like we had to have that conversation in our house and be like, it's not just about like material things, just buying stuff to buy. I'm so anti that now. And so, yeah, the whole experience thing as they get older, I feel like you said, Caitlin, like that should be part of that was their gift. And then what was the second part that we were talking? Sorry.
Are you a whole class?
Oh, I was when I first started motherhood with the first, but then as a same thing, my patience, the budget and the time and all that, it's sort of just gone downhill from the oldest to the youngest. And then again, I think like if they have 3 best friends or 2 they're close with, I think that's great. And then, and it's like if they just want to invite just the girls or just the boys, because again, like we were talking about too, like, you go to these like princess places. I mean, of course the boys can come, and I've been to one where they have like an area where the boys can be a prince. But I mean, I don't know. I think it just depends on, what you want to do as a mom and what works for your family. But yeah, it's just dwindled downhill.
And Callie, you're not a whole class parent.
I'm not a whole class parent. And I also I've gotten the invitations that it's obvious that they've sent it to me because it's a whole class invitation. And I don't know, the way I feel about it, again, my kids are younger, so a lot of these are like 4-year-old birthdays. So it's like, how much do the kids, obviously they know it's their birthday, but it's like they're just held at these things. And sometimes when I go to them, I'm like, I don't feel like that child is even having fun. The parents aren't really having fun. Like, what are we all doing here? So I find that when I get the invitation, I'm like, if I haven't heard my child say this child's name, like we're definitely not going to this party. And yeah, the one that we've done, I was just like, tell me the people that you are friends with at school. Like I already know because you talk about the same 4 people, and then that's
Wait,
who we'll invite. But
wait,
I remember
Callie.
the first time I did it, I didn't know. I was like, is it rude if I don't? I remember feeling really stressed. Like, are you allowed to only invite some of the kids? Because I felt like all the ones I had gone to were the whole class. So then that was like a weird thing too. And then like if I got invited to somebody else's, like Miles was invited to, I don't know, make up Charles's birthday. Do we have to invite Charles? And then it was like that's a whole nother.
Wait, Callie. So, like, let's just say the boy's name is Reed. There, it's not. Same thing happened to me the other day. I got an evite from someone. I've never heard Nico mention Reed's name ever, never. Right? And I'm like, sometimes I don't know, or do they mean to send it to me? Do they not? And I was like, hey, Nico, do you know this boy? Like, I've never heard you mention his name. And he was like, Mom, like he's in my class, but I don't really know him, so I don't really need to go. I was like, all right, fine. Like,
Good. Thank
That's
God.
a win.
I don't even tell. You know how many invites my children got that they don't even know that they were invited?
I get called out all the time. Because
oh
all the
no.
time. Because Annabelle was a COVID. She was in kindergarten in COVID. And so then the 2 years after that, no one was having full class parties. Eiley, since kindergarten, there's always, and we never go.
So many.
I'm like, we're
Yeah.
busy.
It's too many.
Yeah.
Quick lightning round. What is your budget for birthday presents for not like your best friend, but just like a classmate? How much do you spend, Callie?
One of my go-tos lately is I go into CVS and I get them a $20 Amazon gift card, sometimes 25 if it's a friend I know they really like, because one, now the parents aren't ending up with junk, and two, the kid is excited. They can go and buy what they want.
Same.
Yeah.
Caitlin.
I'm literally the same thing. And
Yeah.
if it has to be, I have to know them. Otherwise, I'm not even going to the party.
Megan?
Yeah, $25 gift card is my go-to, but now my girls they like to pick the stuff out and blah blah blah, and I'm just
I
like, can
know.
we just do a gift card? And they're like, no, they're my best friend, and I'm like,
We've given a
okay.
lot of water bottles filled with Jolly Ranchers. That seems to be a very popular.
I love it.
Oh, that's a good one.
Which is pretty easy.
Or something
Um,
with their name on it, like if you can make it budget friendly, that's monogrammed, or I don't know, but even that
Yeah.
gets tricky sometimes with cost.
I
Yeah.
agree. I mean, I think the one thing that I would love to leave our listeners with is that there's like the kids don't know any different. You know what I mean? So, like the most magical parties that I remember did not involve anything over the top. Like I think we had a guy in our town named Christian the Magician, and my parents were pretty cheap, and so I'm sure Christian the Magician charged $100. And the big like hoorah moment was he would produce a goldfish in a little bowl like the size of my coffee cup, and I'm sure, and every year I'd had Christian a couple times, and then my siblings had them. Like Christian came to the Martin house a lot, and you'd end up with this little goldfish, and it was just like the best. And that so I would say I think sometimes we're our own worst enemies when it comes to parenting, and we look at the social media and we see that like Janice had a party next door, and I think this is where you can stick to your guns and just remind yourself that sometimes the most magical experience for your kids is like, I don't know, get some pizza dough and have everyone make their own pizzas. Like sometimes it can just be something creative. My middle schooler, my daughter this year, I was like, oh God, this is the year when we're going to have to like do something fancy. We rented this, a local ice cream place. They have like a room upstairs. I think I rented it for $100, and she just sat around and like made friendship bracelets with her friends. So it was like $50 of beads from Amazon, and we ordered pizza, and it felt special, and it was great. So I think it takes a little creativity and maybe just thinking outside the box, but it doesn't, I'm telling you, it doesn't
Yeah.
require a balloon arch, right?
What about
Well,
that craft party you hosted, Charlotte? That was
Yeah.
amazing.
That's the one with my daughter, right? And
Yeah.
so I think there is something to making the day feel special and making your child feel celebrated, but that doesn't involve like a price tag. That just involves knowing what they're interested in and sort of finding creative ways to recognize what they enjoy and doing that.
And I'll just add, don't look at my blog and judge me.
It was a long time ago.
Well, the
That's okay.
karaoke party was 2 years ago, and my very good friend made the balloon arch.
Yeah, but at least you're admitting it and saying you're not trying to like
I'm
act
not
like you're.
pretending that it
I
was
mean,
me.
you're keeping it real. It's all good.
I will say karaoke parties are
Oh,
very
they're
easy and fabulous.
fun. I
We
want to
just did
have
one.
one.
We just look around. We just did one recently for my 5th grader. There was a local place, and I think at night they're a full bar. So during the day, they're happy just to fill, so it was not expensive. And I don't know, we had a bunch of 5th grade girls just shrieking in a little silent room. We sat outside and it was great. So I asked my friend Beth Kingston if she would chat with me. She does not have kids of her own. However, she has adopted isn't the right word. Her and her husband are very involved with the Naval Academy, and they do something at the Naval Academy where they can adopt sort of students that so they can use their house as a home. And so she has, I don't know, like a dozen students, former students that she refers to as her kids. She is the on-air craft expert for HSN. So this woman can throw a party, and she could throw a clever party. So that's why I wanted to chat with her, because I think she has some really good ideas for ways to make a gathering feel personal and intimate and fun and valuable without like feeling like you need to bring in the National Guard to set things up. So we are going to chat with her now. So we can start. We'll be official. Thank you for joining. I already have forgotten the 3 questions. I think I'm going to spring the one that I meant to ask everyone when we were recording yesterday was what are our favorite parties? So I think I want to start with that, because do you have like one specific party that you remember from your childhood that was like your most favorite?
Well, I think like you were just talking about before we started recording, that it was blowing bubbles in the backyard or doing, simple things like that. For me, it was being heard by my parents. When one year I wanted to go to a really expensive restaurant. And so my parents let me bring a friend and we all went to that restaurant. And one year I wanted to do, 12 of my girlfriends in our basement having a movie night. And my parents did what I wanted to do. Those are the birthdays that I remember because I felt heard,
That's so
frankly.
cute.
Like I think a lot of parents get caught up in the keeping up with the Joneses and you have to have the fanciest party ever and you forget that it's for your kid. And
True.
it should be a kid-led theme, activity, party, whatever. I think that's where sometimes it gets forgotten, but for me every party, and it's held true for the older kids that we have here at the house, we ask them what they want to do and then we make it happen, and those are the parties they're going to remember.
So for your older kids, what are their requests? That's so funny, because my childhood memory, and I think you're right, it started from me.
Mhm.
Our favorite thing as a family was to go down at the end of our town to this one Chinese restaurant, and that was like Disneyland.
Yeah.
We would get the poo poo platter, and it had the
Yes.
flame in the middle. And so one
Yes.
year I had a Chinese birthday party. And so my parents went in to Chinatown in Washington, D.C. Beth lives in Annapolis, so she knows
Yep.
just what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And they came back with all the little soup spoons. And I think they got a bunch of chopsticks. I had those silk pajamas. Like it was just all the little tchotchkes that
Yep.
felt so mad, like the umbrellas. And I think we just sat on the living room floor, and I don't know. That was.
Yes.
But what are
Because that's
your
what you wanted.
that's what I wanted, and
Yeah.
they imagined it in a way that I don't think I would have, but it was
Yeah.
perfect. It was very
Yeah.
simple.
That
What do
sounds
your
amazing.
big kids want? This is a fun insight into the what are they,
It's
exennials?
almost always food related.
Oh, great.
So, one for the under 21 crowd, we have done make your own pizza parties.
Oh, fun.
We did a cookie decorating class for one of our girls. Um,
That seems so obvious, but of course, so fun.
right, and I never would have thought about it, but that's what she asked for, and we have a friend here who does them. And they had the time of their lives. We've had DIY taco bars, like taco nacho bars, where we have every topping under the sun. Because we live on the water, depending on the time of year, a lot of the kids want to just have a cool food related activity and then be outside. But we also, one of our boys, when he turned, I think 19, we had a game night with their friends, and it was Cards Against Humanity.
Sure. Yeah.
But
yeah.
also Pencil Nose, if you've never heard of it, which is an amazing game that people of all ages can play. And so it's always food themed. And then sometimes they have an idea after. Sometimes they just want to watch movies. With the older kids, we've had so we're on our like 13th child that has turned 21 while they've been at our house. And instead of them going out in town and going to some weird bar, we did a bourbon tasting. We've done a couple of bourbon tastings. We've done a couple beer tastings because, kids don't know. Do I like IPAs? Do I like
I love
shandies? Do
that.
I like porters?
Yeah.
So they can have some cocktails here at the house, but we know where they are.
Yep.
We are like their actual parents. We know where they are. If they have too much to drink, we can help with that. But it's always food related, and then for the older kids, it's some sort of alcohol themed, which is fine. I'd much rather
fine.
them do it here.
That's too cute. I have already talked on the podcast about my mentor group or my mastermind group.
Yes.
And guys, this is Beth. She's the evil genius behind the mastermind group.
I love a mastermind group.
And so that lends me to my next question, which is, what is your personal philosophy? I feel like you have a lot of practice, and I've picked up some wonderful, just basic, not like specific tips per se, but what is your party philosophy overall?
Do what's going to make you happy. You, the host or hostess. And just have fun with it and include as many people as you can. Those are sort of my three, because I think, again, with these parties where people go all out and spend thousands of dollars, are they having a good time? Like,
Right.
I want to have a good time. If I'm throwing a party for someone, if I'm throwing a party for our neighbors, I want to have a good time and I want them to have a good time. So don't let the theme of it lose the purpose, which is to be together. You and I have talked privately in our own lives about how much people miss community and doing things together, and parties are the perfect way to spend time with people. And so don't get lost in the craziness of it.
Right.
Um,
Unless
I
that
have
brings
also
you joy, because I think both of us
right,
love
the
the
people.
the creativity that goes into it, because it's sort of our love language. But
Yeah.
I think that's such a good point, is
Yes.
if you're
'Cause
having
you can
fun
tip.
putting it all, yes, it can tip.
You can be like, oh, I'm going to make something creative, and then bam,
Yeah.
all of a sudden you are having the worst time of your life. Also, as you already know, my number one philosophy is name tags. And
It's
I think even for little kids parties, obviously, so we have neighborhood parties here at the house probably 4 times a year. And so when it's all adults, obviously name tags are a no-brainer, but I even think for kids parties, because we've had a couple of little kid parties over here, parents may not know each other. And so if parents are coming to these parties, it's such a great way to help parents make friends also. But it's so hard if you've met Sally down the street twice at the bus stop and you can't remember her name. There's that awkwardness
you
that
feel
is
like an
immediately
asshole.
dissipated when Sally has her name right on her chest.
I agree. And
Yeah.
this lends itself to the last question, where I know you are going to have some specific tips. What are some ways that you approach parties so that they are fun for you? They're not totally stressful. They're not just breaking the budget, but they're still fun and inclusive.
Yeah. Um, store-bought, store-bought, store-bought. You do not have to hand make every dip. You do not have to, for example, when we have taco night, you can buy the little or big containers of like the pre-marinated pork. You can just buy those. You don't have to go get a pork butt, cook it, marinate it. You don't have to do all those things. No one's going to go, this pork would have been a lot better if you have spent 12 hours cooking in your crock pot. Whatever you can buy from the store, do it. Make your life easier. It's nothing, it doesn't have to be homemade. Brownie mix with a little frosting slapped on top of it is fine. Whatever. If your love language is making cakes, great. If it's not, store-bought is fine. Don't let that drag you down. And also it goes back to do what you're going to be happy with. I love a cheese board. I love a taco bar. Serve food, have activities, things that you will use on your own after, because then you're not spending, if you do spend $500 on a party and you only go through $200 worth of food. The other $300 you can just put in your cabinet, put in your freezer. Just make it easy on yourself. You can live off a DIY taco bar for like weeks.
Oh, long time. We were saying how all of us don't throw parties for our kids every year. And
Mhm.
I was saying how for me, I sort of tell myself it's financial. And then Callie was like, I just don't want to throw a party every year, which is sort of what you're saying, which is, parties should be fun for everyone. It shouldn't
Yes.
be like a forced march. And I think that's a really important thing to remember. Because for someone, a big elaborate party where you're spending thousands, it might bring them a lot of joy. And that's
Right.
great. But you just have to be honest with yourself, because I
Right.
just want to sit and eat cheese and talk to my friends.
Correct. And also, like, I go back to, again, one of my favorite memories as a kid. It was one friend, and we went out to a really nice dinner because I'd, seen the restaurant on TV or read about it in a magazine or something. And I wanted that as opposed to a party, and my parents listened, and we did it. And it was something I mean, that was almost 35 years ago, and I still remember
So
it.
cute.
And so you don't have to do the parties. Do what your kids want to do.
Yeah.
And it'll make you happy because they're happy.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you, my friend. I appreciate you joining us and Just
I-
for Moms.
I miss you. I know.
And we're back. What do we end with? Pits and peaks, right?
Yes.
Always.
Megan, what's your pit? Do you have a pit or a peak?
I have a peak. I took a comedy class over the weekend to help improve my joke skills for all of you. And I learned a lot. It's something that I've wanted to do for a while, and we have the New York Comedy Club here in Stanford, and it was 3 hours, and it was cool. I went with a friend and learned some tips, and yeah, that takes a lot of work, getting up there and all the prep and the practice before and memorization and actually like being funny, like there were some people that thought they were funny, and I was just like, oh man, I hope I'm not like that. But yeah,
Wait,
it was
what's
cool.
one tip can you remember what's one tip you came away with?
So the details of the joke, like mine were like short and sweet, and that was one of the tips, was like you need to like detail into the hook, rather than just banging them out, because then, it story tells and you're, having someone listen to it. So that was one of the
I like that.
tips.
Do you guys
Yeah.
know who David Sedaris is, the writer?
Yes.
I just listened to him. He was in Westport last night, and I went with a girlfriend, and he writes, I think his earlier books were a little bit more cohesive, but mostly he just writes short stories and essays. But he is an example of like details and intonation and tone. And that's funny that you did this
Yes.
comedy class and I just heard of him.
Tone was another one, Charlotte, like over the top, like same thing. Like when you're like yelling, pull the mic away and really yell, like stuff like that. So it was cool. I mean,
That's cool.
I was probably
love that.
cringe, but whatever.
We'll come to your first stand-up. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's cool that you did it.
Know about that, but thanks.
Caitlin, do you have a peak or a pit?
I actually have a pit. I've talked about my obsession with certain books and series, and I swear I said this 2 weeks ago. I didn't want the last book in the series that I'm reading to end, and I still don't want it to end, where I read like 3 pages every night, and I'm just holding it close to my heart. And last night I realized that there's only like 20 pages left, and I'm just really sad. Because when it's over, it's over.
I would stay
No,
up
a
until
lot of
4 in the
discipline.
morning to
Yeah.
finish.
I thought you were going to
can't.
say animals.
I think so too.
Oh, I got lots of animal stories, but no.
Okay.
I'm
Callie,
sad
do you
about
have a
my book.
peak or a pit?
Mine's sort of like a pit and a peak. Where I can't remember if I said this while we're recording or if I just said it to you guys offline, but we're in the middle of potty training my 2-year-old, which is like, it's not like fun. Nobody's gonna be like, potty training's fun, but it's also a peak because like it's a big milestone for him. And I don't hate it, it's a lot of effort at the beginning, but there's like something kind of endearing about doing it, and knowing that the diapers are going to be gone is great. I only have one child in diapers left, but I've had to clean up a lot of pee, so
Yeah, we get real comfy with the body fluids.
Mhm.
So I have a peak / pit. There are 2 different things that happened. One is sort of a peak, one's a pit. I'm real into my garden this year, and we have one tree out back that when we moved into this house 4 or 5 years ago, the tree had signs of a fungus or a virus, whatever trees get. But every year it would come back and it would look fine. And so it was like, whatever. This year it just, it didn't come back. You can see the gunk on the branch. It's gross. So I had to cut it down, and it's not a huge tree, and I have a little chainsaw that I feel very comfortable with. And so I had my son Oliver, who's like 6'2". Like I needed his help so that branches wouldn't come crashing down onto my plants. And so he was a big help, and I love that he's old enough to help, and he wants to make money so we can buy some stupid thing. So he helped me, and we took out the tree. So that's amazing. Here's the pit. As I mentioned, Oliver wants to make money. So that's amazing. So I was taking Louisa to a lacrosse game. And so I texted him and I was like, hey, buddy, if you want to make some money, I have a bunch of mulch, like bags of mulch. If you want to start weeding the back bed and put mulch down, that would be a big help. Sure. I said, don't. I mean, you can see where this is going. I was like, anything under the trees is fair game. Most of the stuff along the border I've planted, but just shoot me a picture if you have any questions. So I'm watching lacrosse. Every once in a while, a picture would pop up and I'd say, no, keep, no, keep, no, keep. I came back and I came right into the tree removal. So I didn't really, he was like, I'm going to take a break from weeding. I'm pretty tired. And after we'd removed the tree, I looked to the back bed and I see, I don't know, 5 square feet. Like he's dumped 2 bags of mulch. And I was like, oh. And that's the only part that he's weeded. And I was like, wait, buddy, how long were you working back there? And he was like, I don't know, when did you text me until you got home? So like 2 or 3 hours he's back there. And I'm telling you, it's maybe the size of my desk. Like there is no evidence that this child has been back there, but he's honest. Like he was like, yeah, everything was so hard to pull out. I just couldn't he's pulled out every single Pachysandra that I have planted in that back bed. It's taken years to, like, I planted Pachysandra so it would spread and take over so then I don't have to weed. And, like, I can't blame him because he was like, no, they looked like weeds. They looked like all the others. I can't blame him. I mean, he's weeded the back bed, and so in theory, he should know. But those are real hard to pull out. Like, now, I get it. So now I have 4 flats of Pachysandra to replant into my back bed. So that's my pit.
That's
So
sad.
if you need anyone to do yard work, I got a guy.
I feel really proud. I know what Pachysandra is because as I was walking out of my friend's house just 3 days ago, she goes, and look at my Pachysandra over here. And I was like, who's Sandra? She's like, no, my plants. It's called Pachysandra.
There's nothing special about it other than it does well in shady. Like this is my back bed, and I just want something that will take over. Like I want something invasive and permissible that'll take over and like won't let any weeds grow. And this does
look a little like a weed, though. Fair enough.
I mean, they all right.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, it's not when it has a flower. I mean, I get it though. Like if I were a high school boy, I wouldn't know if that was a flower.
No, he has no business. But anyway, so that's that. All right, guys. Well, thank you for. We're all over the place, but thank you for listening to us. We love getting all of your comments, except for those few insecure men that were commenting on our YouTube reels about the feminism. But just about all of you, lovely. And we love hearing from you. Keep emailing us and DMing us because we love getting your ideas for future shows and topic ideas. We love seeing your reviews, and we just love knowing that you guys are out there listening. So thanks again.
Bye. Bye.